Welcome to Ella's Beef Easter's Radio Air Check and Classic TV channel.
97.9, the Loop FM. 1967.
Fell out of bed.
Well, when you come into Chicago, please come up here.
Okay, let me say hi to all the listeners in the region. Hey, you Chicagoites and all that. How you doing, guys? Rock on. And I'll see you when we get there.
Thank you, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
Okay, gents.
Bye-bye.
See you around. Bye.
Yikes. It's Paul friggin' McCartney. Yeah. Let's go to Fort Wayne.
Delirious and Mookie, they're all together, goofy. The Jim Schultz family, they need a mausoleum, so all the kin can see them. You know they're off the deep end, the Jim Schultz family.
Boom, boom.
Dad.
Hello.
Hello. Hi, Dad.
Hi.
What's wrong?
Oh, I just had an awful thing happen to me.
What happened?
I went down to the store this morning, and a bunch of kids, they took my pants down and they taunted me. They laughed at me.
What? Whoa. What happened to you?
Is Miss Clausian, please?
Just a minute.
God bless you.
She is being married Saturday, and she will not be here today or tomorrow. She's at home.
Okay, well, the person that sent me this letter is going to get beaten up.
I'm sorry.
Do you understand? Do you know anything about Proud Mary and Celebrate?
No?
I represent the band. I'm an attorney at law.
Proud Mary, yeah.
Yeah.
Proud Mary.
And my band has a clause that says the Proud Mary clause. It says they must be able to play Proud Mary Celebration.
Uh-huh. Well, did she object?
Yes, she did object, and I am not, and I don't mean to yell at you, but I can't stand for that. Is she coming into work?
No, she won't be here today or tomorrow.
Would you call her at home and tell her that Jonathan Brandmeier, representing the Boner Brothers, would like her to call back right away, because there will be no wedding if we don't get to play those two songs.
Boner Brothers. And
Wait, could you say that again to make sure you had it right?
B-O-N-N-E-R.
But I'd like to hear you say it again.
Boner.
Say it again.
Boner Brothers.
Say it again.
Boner.
Okay, what?
Boner.
I like,
no, but you didn't, no, wait a minute, you didn't say it the same way you did before.
Boner.
Say it stronger.
Boner.
591 Rock, 591 Roll. We're here for your tax woes.
Yeah.
All night long.
It's ugly.
How are you today?
I'm fine under the circumstances.
What are these circumstances you speak of?
It's the saddest day of the year, is all.
Income tax day?
Yeah. It's so sad, isn't it? It's just terrible.
No.
Do you ever... I always wonder, like, as I'm writing that check, and I literally this year for the first time kissed the check as I put it in the envelope, because you're kissing the money goodbye, so I kissed the check and I put it in the envelope.
I'd spit on it first, put a big loogie on there, and then mail it there.
Dave Plier on 720 WGN. We're talking about the final days of the Loop FM that we all grew up with the legends themselves, Kevin Matthews, Wendy Snyder, Bill Leff, and broadcast executive Larry Word. Wendy, I mean, we talk about the music of the station, too, because, people didn't like the Loop at the end, but, man, that was a station, as you said, that rocked. And you were the first, like, one of the first female rock jocks, right?
Patty Hayes.
Patty was, yeah.
Patty Hayes gets full credit. She was the queen of rock and roll. I was the princess.
Oh, yeah, but I'll tell you, I remember, I was in my first freshman year in college listening to you on the air, and I thought, how cool, and I could tell just by your voice that if I ever ran into you, you'd kick my ass.
Not if you lit my cigarette for me back then.
That's true.
But I went from the rock and roll end of things, which the Loop was the best rock and roll in the whole city. Absolutely, hands down.
Yeah.
And then Howard Stern came to town on the AM 1000. I did live news inserts, and that's when I was put on Kevin's show, and the introduction to talk radio changed my life. So, Kev, Jack Silver put me on your show, and you just really... You opened me up, Kev. I got to say it.
Well, it was just, I loved working with all the people. I've worked with so many. And the one thing that I can honestly say, I wanted them to shine more than me. I had no problem bringing on the most talented people because if you could replace me, do it. And I wanted people to just feel, I wanted the most out of people. And that's what happened.
Yeah. But you were, and I was reading your bio. You said you were passed around like an old. You did Kev's show. You won Gary. You said in the divorce.
In the divorce, yeah.
In the divorce, you were co-hosting with Wendy and Tony, and then I think it was 95 that Bill, you joined forces with Bill, and that's when you started your 20-year plus legacy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty cool. So what you were a fan of the Loop, Bill, for
Huge
all those
fan.
years, right?
Gigantic fan.
Yeah. And what were you doing at the time before you started doing radio? I mean,
I was doing stand-up.
Stand-up.
Yeah.
So how did the radio opportunity come about?
I wanted to have a family. My wife and I wanted kids, and I didn't want to be traveling doing stand-up. And I would, whenever Danny Bonaducci was in town doing stand-up, I was his opening act, and we became friends.
That's cool.
And then Danny got a job, and one Friday I was guesting on the show, and he said, "What's up?" And I said, "I'm going to stop doing stand-up. I got to find something local." And he goes, "Well, why don't you host a show here?" And I go, "Oh, okay. I'll start on Monday. That'll be fun." "What time do you need me to come in on Monday? I'll be the host."
Yeah.
And he talked to Larry, and he talked to Matt Bisbee. He told him about me, and they were looking for somebody to go alongside Wendy late at night. And I used to listen to them when I would do clubs here in town. That was my ride home, was listening to Wendy and Tony. I loved it.
You listened to us fight?
Yeah, I would listen to you guys fight.
Was that what it was all about?
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah. And I had never met Wendy, but I'd heard her on the air 150 times. And it just, like, right off the bat, it clicked. It made sense.
So did you even meet before the show for just a little bit? No, you just really kind of went right on the air together.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And I do...
Shotgun, nerds. Shotgun.
Yeah, but this one worked.
Wendy knows this was a shotgun.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So how did you figure out the rhythm for your show? I mean, like, what did you just go on air and just start chatting and figured it out from there for the most part?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was exactly that. Like Kevin said, we didn't want it to be what Kevin was doing or what Johnny was doing or Steve and Gary. It became very improvisational. Wendy's she's not trained in improvisation, but somehow just inherently knows all the rules of whatever's said, run with it.
I learned from him.
Yeah.
Well,
seriously.
Thank you. But I learned how to do this. My pacing was a stand-up pacing. And Wendy said early on, you have to make this last for 4 hours. When you do stand-up, you're doing it for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So, the rules are different when you do radio than
you learned a little bit from...
a lot of it.
Like I learned a lot from you, obviously, as well. Absolutely.
Thanks.
So I just got this email in that somebody's a little ticked who wanted to be on the show who said he's a legend like all of you, and that's Jim Shorts. Jimmy, are you there now?
Oh.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
I could have added a lot. Larry, are you still there?
Jim, it's been a long time. I am.
I'm just saying, if you got to hit a ball, you might as well hit a ball. I'll talk to you later.
That's code for Jimmy. Yeah.
Larry and I are doing something on television. Larry and I are working. I can't talk about it, but it's huge.
You're going to be on TV, Jim?
Well, if it's television, that's probably where I'm going to go.
Yep.
Good call, Wendy.
Thanks.
Wendy, he always told me that he was probably too good looking to just be on radio.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's true.
Yep.
It's true.
How's the casino over at Beaver Island doing? Is that doing
fine, fantastic.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. I'm taking over with Steve Wynn. Look at his career.
Yeah, he's doing good. Jimmy, how's the boy? How's Luger? Is everything okay with your son?
He's fine. He's a grown man now in Sweden. He's gay. He does Olympic training. And he's a good man, yes.
That's excellent. Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And you can get a lot of... What can you get up at the casino? You can get some M80s, I heard, right?
I get M80s, medical marijuana, medical meth.
There's medical meth.
Medical meth right now, yeah. It's a good time. We're on an Indian reservation. Come on up, leave the kids home, bring them up. We put them in cars. It's a good time. It is.
Jimmy, do you hear this a lot? I'm sure a lot of the guys, the younger broadcasters, come up to you, Jimmy, and say, "You're the reason I got into radio." Do you hear that a lot?
I hear it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's getting old now.
Yeah. Who owns WFRT now?
WFRT is actually the same group that's taken over the Loop. They're doing fantastic.
Is that true?
Yeah. It's not a bad move. I just think they paid too much, $21 million.
Yeah.
I'd say maybe 3.5 tops. Seriously.
That's fantastic. Nice talking to you, Jim.
Yeah, eat me.
Wow.
Right.
Isn't it ironic, though, that a Christian station has to take over for the Loop what we did to it? Is that why?
Just to kind of cleanse it out. Yeah, cleanse it out a little bit. Yeah. What's the legacy of the Loop? What is it going to be, Larry, to our generation?
Well, to the people who had it as part of their lifestyle and their days in the 80s and the 90s, and even in this last decade to some extent, although I think it really did change, I think it's just going to be we're lucky to have experienced it, memory, right? It's just something that no one can take away, right? Nothing stays the same, but no one can take it away. And again, I just feel fortunate to have been just a really small part of it.
Larry, there's a movie on cable right now that is about the early days of the National Lampoon. I don't know if you've seen it, but I was watching those scenes where they're all in the office. It's all the head honchos and the brainiacs of the National Lampoon, all funny people together, just making each other laugh. And when I watched that movie, it was so reminiscent of those days at the Loop.
Kevin mentioned that some of the off-air was maybe even better than some of the on.
Yeah.
We would take trips, client trips, and spend time together and just giggle and just have fun. And look, it was a pretty serious business. It helped grow a radio company that eventually became Clear Channel. Our 2 stations in Chicago became 430 stations.
Wow.
And you have to give Jim DeCastro giant credit for that. But it really was the Loop that gave us credibility with the bankers and to get funding to start growing. And just again, so many people were part of it. And Johnny, Kevin, Steve, and Gary, a big part of the profile. But as Wendy said, all of those great FM spinsters, if you will, Skafish and Stroud and Patty Hayes and
Sky Daniels.
So many that I'm just not even thinking of.
Sky Daniels, Terry Gibson, John Fisher, Mitch Michaels.
And Larry, we don't want to leave off Liz Wilde, do we?
Oh.
Liz Wilde.
Yep.
Yep.
You may not like what he says.
But somebody's got to write a story about this, right? I mean, somebody's got to write a story about the Loop days. I mean, there's got to be something to pull together with all the memorabilia and stories that you guys have. I mean, I think there's a lot of people hungry for that type of stuff.
People love science fiction, Dave. They love it.
And I met my husband there, so I'm happy Jimmy Mack worked there when I did.
That's right. Kev, what about you? What is the legacy? What does the legacy of the Loop mean to you?
Methadone, kind of, it was a synthetic heroin.
Yeah.
And we are working on, there is a documentary now more than ever. It just, what it did, how it impacted culturally, everything. It really did. It was just that puzzle. And like I said, living in Chicago at that time, the Loop was just a piece of this puzzle, but it was happening culturally. You could never live that again because of everything.
Dave, what was nice during those days is whenever a kid would commit a crime, they'd show him on the news, and he was always wearing a Loop T-shirt. That always made you feel good, didn't it?
Who has a box of Loop T-shirt in their basement or crawl space because somebody's going to make a fortune now?
I've got the M1000 suit. They're selling them online, and on Facebook they said they sold 2,000 yesterday because people are clamoring for them, I swear.
Wendy, you guys will remember we had a store at North Pier,
the Loop store,
and when it shut down, I have most of that up in my crawl space at home. So I think we should have an event, a charity event.
Larry, next year marks the 30th anniversary of the Gym Shorts outing. I think we ought to have an auction and have that help out like a Father Smith and Maribel.
Oh yeah.
Or something. I've got a lot, and I know Brandmeier and everybody else does.
I think I bought everything.
We argued about the T-shirt, whether it should say "Who caught one" or "Who farted." And we argued about it for
strategic meeting.
And so we did. We printed both of them.
Yeah.
And it gave birth to "Tastes Like Chicken," which was another Loop.
Exactly.
One.
Yep.
Jackass was my favorite.
Yeah. Jackass was great. We got away with anything. We actually came up with a commercial. It was one of my first fights with Greg Salt because I got some video that, Dancing Robert, right? Joey Bag of Donuts.
Yeah.
And the way I got that video because Mike Watercut was trying to show me something I could play at our holiday party and make fun of Doll. And then, true story, and then all of a sudden, we made us laugh so much. I said, why don't we just make a commercial? And Mike said, why don't we? And the Persian Gulf War had just happened, and we wanted to put something on TV that made people just smile because it was just so, everything was just so down. And Greg Solt said, what does that have to do with the friggin' rock station? I said, play any song you want.
Right.
I'm giving you free marketing dollars. So he, to his credit, came up with George Thorogood and a couple other tunes, right? Petty. And all we did was play that video, play a rock tune, and then put up the loop. And it became a nationally syndicated commercial.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Robert got arrested.
Robert? The Joey Bag of Donuts.
Oh, he did? Oh.
What did he do again, Lair?
He got so big and popular, on 4th of July, he started selling fireworks, but he had a menu of, Joey Bag of Donuts with his video, his picture, and he maybe over-marketed. And the tobacco and firearms guys called me up. So, we did. We just took that spot, we put it out again, we just changed the song to I Fought the Law.
That's absolutely it. Genius.
Oh, man, that's fantastic. Wendy, what about you?
I just, honestly, that was my first real radio job, and just to grow up here in Brookfield, Illinois, listening to the Loop, and then all of a sudden getting to work there with the super celebs, really, Stephen Gary, Johnny B, Buzz Killman needs to be mentioned,
Buzz,
Kevin, of
Buzzy.
course. Jim Shorts, not really so much, sorry. But it was just so cool to work there in a place.
I heard it, bitch.
Oh, God, here we go.
Oh, no. Wow.
What do you say after that?
I got nothing. No, it was just an honor to grow up listening there and then to work there was really the coolest thing ever. It was a family. Come on. We all really did things outside of work together. Cindy Gatziolis, the late great, was amazing. Promotions were always fun. We all supported each other. It really was one big happy family.
But when I think of the Loop, and I'm just a fan in all this, I mean, I'm kind of honored to be even talking to the four of you, and I mean that sincerely. But when I think about the Loop and those early days, you're just as synonymous to me with Stephen Gary and Bart John. Oh, yes, you are. Oh, absolutely. And again, I always thought you were going to kick my butt if I met it. How about you, Bill?
For me, because my training was not in radio, it was in stand-up, I felt like I was playing on the ultimate all-star team without ever having taken a swing at bat in the majors, I was on with all the names Wendy just mentioned, and it was just, I had to pinch myself. I'm not to suck up to the WGN family, but it's happened twice in my career that every single day I go into work, as I'm pulling into the parking lot, I go, how did this happen?
And getting to do it with Wendy.
It's amazing.
And I mean that by doing radio, but for the second time around, that's pretty cool.
Oh, very cool.
Well, you came off that bench with no practice and hit a home run. I will say that. You fit right in. Seriously.
But you know what I mean by this. You had to hit home runs because you'd look at the lineup and you go, these guys are all hitting home runs. I better hit home runs too.
It inspired us to be better every time we were on the air.
Every time,
Kev, you're doing podcasting at doll.com?
Yeah, and that has been fun because all these characters have grown, and it's great.
Hey, I want to ask a question.
Oh, yeah.
And Larry, you answer it, okay?
Yeah, Jim, sure. I'll do my best.
Okay. Is that a wig?
Kev, I've showered and bathed with Johnny, and I don't believe it is.
Okay, there we go.
Answer.
You can't take the station off until you find out.
Okay, I'll work on that today, Jim.
Of course, yes.
Hey, we're trying not to forget people, and you talked about some of the great programming being the crosstalks, and I can't, I can't help but forget Chet Kopnick when Stephen Gary every night would go 5 minutes too long, and he would just get so irate because he'd have. And we all remember when Tony Lasorda was lined up, and he was ready to go, and Chet lost it. Right, he just completely lost it, and we made a great promo of him losing it. but Chet Kopnick was the pioneer of sports talk radio in Chicago.
He was.
A lot of people copied it afterwards, and we've mentioned Danny, but Danny's who filled in when we put on and took off Howard Stern. And Danny just always did an amazing job at the Loop. He did car karaoke, which was driving down the circular driveway at the Hancock and bouncing off the walls. That was expensive, but it it was indigenous to Loop people. Everyone did their own thing, but they knew what their base was.
You know, you bring up the fact that those shows never ended or started on time. You couldn't really time anything to anything that was on that station.
Well, Gary was always in preparing. Steve was always late. That was always an issue.
Yeah.
There's no question. It was the thing. Look, what hit me, because I was a bit of a neophyte to radio when Jimmy brought me in, is that prime time was the morning, and then stations would have a big thing and they'd play music, but we had so much talent. I said, why can't we have prime time all the time? And we really did build that out, uniquely relative to other markets. I don't know of any one that ever pulled that off and sustained that.
It's very cool, and that's where you guys were.
Yeah, we were on nights, first overnights and then 7 to 11, but Larry had the attitude of it's going to be morning shows all day long.
Yeah.
And
that
it
was
was
a success. No one turned off that radio. They turned it on in the morning, and left it on until they went to bed.
Although we would have gotten a better air slot if you would have gotten Larry Wirt's name tattooed on your butt.
I'm still thinking about it. I may do that, Larry.
A la Danny.
There's time.
All right.
Very good.
There's time.
And Bill and Wendy, of course, every day at 10 o'clock here on WGN Radio. Thanks for hanging out, everybody.
Absolutely.
Thank
That
you,
was a
Dave.
lot of fun. Thanks, Larry. Thanks, Kev.
Thanks, you guys. Bye, Jim. See you, Jim.
Bye, Larry. You can edit the Johnny out.
720 WGN.
Hi, Matt. You making a promo?
Yeah. Brent Miller wants me to cut some promos for Kids Radio on GN, but don't tell Jack Silver I get in trouble.
Oh, let me hear. Now, this is over at GN.
They got Kids Radio over there now, but Brent wants me to do the promos.
Let me hear.
Hang on a second. Don't tell Silver I get in trouble.
Oh, who cares?
This weekend, it's Kids Radio on a whole new frequency. Following Orion Samuelson's Farm Report, WGN rocks hard with a salute to Megadeth. It's an ear-bleeding, gut-wrenching thrash-a-thon.
Telling you, GN's changing, man.
Kids Radio. Tell your parents to go to hell, because we're gonna kick some ass. Megadeth following Spike O'Dell. Saturday, Halloween night. We're gonna pump some wattage into your pumpkin on your kick-ass station, GN. All right, there's one.
That's good, man.
That's that hard metal stuff again.
Right.
Chicago's political conversation, the Sunday Spin.
The clock is counting down until primary election day, and the race for the Democratic nomination for governor tightens. We'll speak to Chris Kennedy about his campaign. Plus, as the women's rights movement grows, what about a state council on women and girls in Illinois? We'll talk to the sponsor, State Representative Anna Moeller.
The Sunday Spin with Chicago Tribune political reporter Rick Pearson. Later this morning at 7 on 720 WGN.